The defection of No Kum-Sok, elite North Korean fighter pilot. As North Korean fighter pilot No Kum-Sok gazed down at the ruins of Pyongyang at 19,000 feet, he weighed up the pros and cons of defecting for one last time. A decorated veteran of the Korean War, if he stayed, he would live the rest of his life in comfort. If he left and plunged into the unknown, there was a high chance he would perish in the process. Then suddenly, he envisioned a lifetime of mind-numbing ideological meetings, lies, betrayal, and denunciation. His mind was made up. He simply had to escape. Beginnings. No Kum-Sok was born into a well-to-do family on January 10, 1932, in Singhung County, at the time when North Korea was under the control of a brutal Japanese colonial regime. His father was No Ja-hyu, a senior manager working for a Japanese construction company. By the time he was 12 in 1944, No idolized the Japanese Emperor Hirohito. Desperate to play some part in the war against the advancing American scourge, he asked his father for permission to be a kamikaze pilot. His response was revealing. "You want to dive into an American warship? Are you crazy?" It was at this moment that he realized his father's loyalty to Imperial Japan was not at all as encompassing as he had previously thought. First encounters. Following the conclusion of World War II, a flood of soldiers from the Soviet Union pillaged, abused, and murdered their way across North Korea. As a result, the family fled into South Korea, where they first encountered American soldiers. In contrast to the loutish Russians, No was greatly impressed by their behavior, cleanliness, and orderliness. Getting his hands on several picture books, he became enchanted with the United States, and in particular with one image depicting a happy California couple driving a big automobile while a friendly dog poked its nose out of the window, enjoying the cool breeze. Discouraged by the faltering post-war South Korean economy, the family moved back to North Korea, where No's communist teachers proclaimed the USA to be a poor country. Having seen irrefutable proof to the contrary, he knew at once that everything he was being taught was a lie. From then on, No dreamed of escaping to America, living a lie. As he grew up, No learned to hide his pro-American leanings with the best possible cover. He engrossed himself in state-sponsored education, avoiding Japanese and English words, and displayed fake enthusiasm for the teachings of communism. All the while, he waited and searched for an opportunity to break free. In 1949, as Kim Il-sung moved his armies closer to the 38th parallel to threaten violent reunification, No was conscripted into the North Korean Navy. Since his father had worked for the hated Japanese, he had to lie on his entrance exam about his origins in order to pass. Terrified his problematic background would be exposed, No allayed suspicion by becoming the Naval Academy's star pupil, being awarded an A in communist history for his efforts. It was a grade that would alter the course of his life. For following the outbreak of the Korean War, with the recommendation of his history professor, No was deemed ideologically committed enough for pilot training in China. His chance to take flight had finally come. The fighter pilot. As a trainee who could potentially fly away and defect, No's political loyalties were closely monitored by his commanding officers. To remain undetected, he established and managed a pro-communist newspaper for the airfield while keeping his snooping comrades at a comfortable distance. In the summer of 1951, after 50 hours flying time in a MiG-15, he qualified as an elite jet pilot, and by the end of the Korean War, he had been promoted to senior lieutenant after flying over 100 combat missions. A number of obstacles had stopped him from making a break for South Korea. No was discouraged by the fact he never had precise coordinates for a South Korean airstrip that could accommodate a MiG-15. Additionally, he was worried about being immediately shot down by his comrades or being blown up in the air by anti-aircraft American fire as he made his escape. To maximize his chances, No Kum-Sok waited just under 2 months after the end of the war to make his move. The escape. In September 1953, No received orders to report to Sunan, a village less than 10 minutes by air to the 38th parallel. On the morning of September 20th, he was informed by his officer that, as the most experienced pilot, he would be one of the first to take off from the base for the next day's mission. Not only would he be flying close to South Korea, but he would be doing it alone. Moreover, this time he knew exactly where to land. A year prior, as part of an aborted mission to attack inside South Korea, he had learned the precise location of an American airbase at Kimpo, how to approach it, and how much fuel he would need to reach it, information which he had hastily scribbled down on a notepad at great personal risk. On the morning of Monday, September 21st, the skies were clear with moderate wind. In other words, perfect flying conditions. At 9:05, No took off in his MiG-15 right after his comrade, Lieutenant Cha, who had gone first. Flying halfway to China, he then reoriented his craft so he was heading towards the interior of North Korea. Next, instead of turning left so he could land on schedule in Sunan, No Kum-Sok made a life-altering decision. He turned right. Increasing his airspeed to a blistering 620 miles per hour, his heart slammed into his chest as he dashed south towards the 38th parallel. As he approached the border, he scanned left and right to see if he was being followed. Nothing. Suddenly, from his radio, he heard the control tower give Lieutenant Cha permission to land. He knew he was next in line. Soaring over a range of rugged mountains, a message came over his radio. "Where are you, 87? Again and again, every 5 seconds as he passed over into South Korean airspace. As he flew above foreign skies, No was surprised he hadn't been intercepted by one of the many American sabers patrolling the area. He didn't know it, but this was because he had been blessed by 2 remarkable strokes of good fortune. The Kimpo radar had actually been turned off that morning for maintenance, and the few American pilots who had caught sight of him did not recognize his MiG as an enemy aircraft. All of a sudden, Kimpo Air Base came into view, and No realized that he was approaching it from the wrong direction. He also noticed that a saber was coming in to land in front of him. Worried it would spot him, pull up, and shoot him down, No made a split-second decision to land to the left of the runway on an adjacent dirt landing strip. However, the saber came in faster than he expected, taxiing off the main runway and leaving it completely clear. No seized the opportunity and prepared for touchdown. As he extended his landing gear, though, he spotted another saber coming in to land. They were going to collide. Having clocked the MiG-15, the saber pilot, Dave Williams, veered right at the last moment, and the 2 planes roared past each other at 140 miles per hour. "It's a goddamn MiG!" shouted the American captain to his radio. With the Americans unsure of whether to fire at him or not, No eased his fighter into the empty slot between the 2 parked sabers. The whole journey had taken 17 minutes. Smashing the framed photo of Kim Il-sung that adorned his cockpit, he stepped out and began shouting the only English word he could remember from school. "Motor car! Motor car!" A startled group of American pilots came out to meet him, and trying to appear friendly, he began shaking their hands. His wish was granted, and No was whisked to the headquarters of the American 5th Air Force in a car. There he was given his first taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola and an opportunity to explain himself. He soon learned that he would be the recipient of $100,000, a prize that had been offered by the Americans to the first North Korean pilot to successfully deliver an intact MiG-15 as part of Operation Moolah. No's childhood dream had come true, but without even knowing it, he had become a rich man in the process. Back in North Korea, there were several repercussions for No's actions. Based on information given by Lee Un-young, another defector, General Wan Yong, the leader of the North Korean Air Force, was demoted, and 5 of No's immediate officers and fellow pilots were executed for failing to stop his defection. North Korea also practices collective punishment for family members of transgressors, though his father had died previously and his mother had already escaped to South Korea. Due to the secretive nature of the North Korean government, the fate of No's other family members is impossible to determine. The MiG was taken to an American military base in Okinawa, where it was repainted with U.S. Air Force markings and test flown by Captain H.E. Collins and Major Chuck Yeager. It was then transferred to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio and later to the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force near Dayton, Ohio, where it is currently on display. After gathering as much intelligence on the aircraft as possible, the U.S. offered to return the jet to North Korea. This offer was ignored. In 1954, following lengthy interrogations in which he revealed much useful intel about the inner workings of the North Korean military, No Kum-Sok changed his name to Kenneth Rowe and settled in the United States. He died on December 26, 2022, as he wanted to live, a proud American citizen.